Good evening. My name is Susan Calman, and I'm part of a delegation sent to provide information to the masses in other parts of the United Kingdom about political developments up north. But what are my qualifications for this, you ask? Are you really Scottish, or are you just pretending in order to tick some boxes at the BBC? 3 ways to prove this. 1, I can shout freedom at the drop of a hat. For example, I would like a cappuccino, please. Freedom! 2, I can say without embarrassment, there's a braw-bricht moonlicht nicht the nicht. And 3, I can do a Billy Connolly impression that actually sounds like Billy Connolly. That's just brilliant. Why are you here, you tartan-clad goddess, you shout? Well... Cheer in the audience if you were aware that on Thursday the 30th of June there was a by-election in Inverclyde. Anyone? Oh, there's a couple of you. Good. I mean, the rest of you, are you, by your ignorance, suggesting that Scotland is in any way less important? Surely Westminster, the mother of all parliaments, rules all. No. We have our own parliament in Edinburgh at a place called Holyrood, which, for information, is just north of Brigadoon. If you haven't been there and want to paint a mental picture for yourself, think of the glamour of Hollywood, then think of the exact opposite. With kilts. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me set the scene for you. The main political parties in Scotland are the SNP, Labour and the Proclaimers. In addition to the main parties, a number of smaller parties have had some success because we in Scotland have a system of proportional representation. What is this fictional form of voting? I hear you cry. Is it something J.K. Rowling wrote of in the marvellous Harry Potter books? No, it's real. You may have heard that PR as a concept is as likely to work as Europe, but it does. As a result, there are representatives at Holyrood from minority parties, such as the Greens and the Conservatives. I should clarify that the situation for the Tories in Scotland is very different to that down south. In Scotland, you're as likely to see a Tory as you are fruit. The majority party is the Scottish National Party, headed up by First Minister Alex Salmond. He's a tremendous orator, but he's got the unfortunate tendency, when he becomes passionate, to sound increasingly like a Dalek. Westminster must bow to the will of the Scottish people. Exterminate! But don't think that our parliament is just a pretend seat of power. No. As a result of devolution, Scotland has no university tuition fees and free prescriptions for all. You see, contrary to popular myth, we prefer our population educated and healthy. Why should I care? You shout at me in your home county's accent. Well, you may have heard some rumblings about a concept called independence. Independence? You mean like Beyoncé sang about when she said all the honey's making monies? Well, yes. Well, no. Independence, as in reversing the Act of Union, chucking the rest of the United Kingdom. At some point in the next 4 years, there'll be a referendum on whether or not we should go our own way, and we're faced with the difficult question, would splitting the country be such a bad thing? What would it actually mean if the people of Scotland decided to dig a trench, fill it with haggis, and cut themselves loose from the rest of the United Kingdom? Well, much like the batteries that power Andy Murray's charisma, there are positives and negatives. The positives, well, number one, we could choose our own queen. In a recent survey that I just made up, 89% of Scots want Susan Boyle to be the head of state. 11% want Frankie Boyle, because it'd just be funnier. Secondly, number two, it'd be interesting after independence to see what the SNP would actually campaign about. If their raison d'etre was achieved, what else could the nationalists fight for? This year, our manifesto addresses the key issues for the party. We, at the SNP, believe that all Highland cows should be repatriated by force. We will not rest until all the furry little cows are back where they belong and have their independence from their farmer oppressors. Then negatives, well, one, many people are confused as to how independence would actually work. And what would we do about Edinburgh? Perhaps it could be partitioned off, much like East Berlin. Two, how would a country the size of Scotland survive in this difficult financial climate? Well, Alex Salmon suggested that Scotland could join Iceland, Ireland and Scandinavia in an arc of prosperity. Just before Iceland and Ireland went bust. Three, what would we do without having the English to blame for everything? I mean, yes, we may be able to finally enter our own song into the Eurovision Song Contest, but is that enough? I don't know the answer, right? But I know that you should care. Imagine how different your lives would be without the influence of important Scots. Scots like Jim Murphy, Gordon Brown, and that nice lassie who plays Doctor Who's sidekick. She's nice. Actually, just never mind, eh? Freedom!